Decided to join us. I'll go ahead and get started. We thank you. This is the From Lost to Life, Life and Legacy Talk.
Amen.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I have a script, and the Lord told me to stick to the script today. He also told me I'm going to send who I want to be there. So that's how we're going to get started, and we're going to go ahead and go. From Lost to Life Ministries is founded on the life and legacy of little Miss Erica Danielle Gulley, who lived vibrantly through lots of medical challenges for 3 years. Her legacy of living life to its fullest lives on through our work. Our intent is to embrace moments of loss through storytelling and sharing life experiences to encourage and to provide resources so that we can live a fulfilled life no matter what. From Lost to Life, grounding scripture is Isaiah 61, 1 through 3. And it says, "The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives and release from darkness for the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn and provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord for the display of his splendor." If we read further in Isaiah 61, verse 7 includes a phrase that speaks to the purpose of our event today. Watch that. Speaks to the purpose of our event today. It says, "Instead of disgrace, you will rejoice in your inheritance." Instead of disgrace, you will rejoice in your inheritance. That's in Isaiah 67 and 1 scripture. We are often disgraced or living in shame when we have not prepared for what seem to be untimely things that happen in our lives. No one wants to have to put up a GoFundMe page to raise money to funeralize their loved ones. No one wants their family to fall out over who gets the house, the car, the jewelry that mama left behind. It's very sad when families break when they need each other the most, in time of the death of a loved one. We don't often think about or talk about inheritance as we think that's reserved for the wealthy folks, right? Not right. It's reserved for all of us. To inherit is to come into possession of belongings from someone else. It is to receive money, property, or a title as an heir at the death of a previous holder. Today, our intent is threefold. One, to be encouraged by the stories and wisdom of our guest speakers, who I'll introduce in a moment. Two, to learn how to talk about getting our affairs in order now as a future blessing to our children and our families. And three, to receive practical knowledge and steps in how to get ready to be ready when the Lord calls us home to live with him in heaven. So let me introduce our first speaker. We're going to switch right into our program today. We have our beloved, who we often call Queen, Vicki Dixon. She is our first speaker. Finding a love for Zumba in 2012 and dropping nearly 100 pounds since. Vicki Dixon has found a new love for health and fitness as she continues to work toward her health goals. Recently retired after 25 years with the phone company, Vicki has now added personal trainer to her list of fitness certifications. Woo, woo. Vicki has been married to Kevin for 23 years, has 2 college-age children, and resides in Central Valley, California. Today, Vicki is the fittest of her life and is looking forward to being the best version of herself while helping others. Additionally, Vicki loves to sew. She's a master seamstress, y'all. She loves to sing and she loves to praise the Lord, whom she gives all credit as the director of her life. Vicki is a dedicated member of Victory and Praise Church of Stockton, California, and consistently participates in the VIP From Lost to Life small group Bible study on Saturday mornings at 7 a.m. virtually. That was a commercial. So without further ado, I'll introduce to some and present to others our dear sister, Vicki Dixon. And I'm going to spotlight her screen.
Ooh, spotlight,
I'm
spotlight.
spotlighting you, girl. There we go. Okay. Vicki is
Ooh,
going to share
spotlight.
her life and legacy story.
No, I'm not. This is an exercise Zoom call. Tricked y'all. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, you're right. You're on the right. You're on the right call. It's the right call. Um, it was during a small group where Elder Kelley said she was going to have this, and I happened to start talking about some things related to it, and she was like, "Oh, okay, so that's why this got brought up off topic. I need you to be part of this legacy talk." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So here we are. And I just want to share a story with you all. Many of you know it, some don't. Um, I lost both of my parents in 2019, 8 months apart. My father passed in February and my mother passed in October. My dad, we knew it was coming. Mom, not so much. And even when you know it's coming, you're never really prepared, right? Um, I would say maybe less than 30 days before we realized that my mom was on the decline to not turn around from it, is when we kind of started getting things in order. Better late than never, maybe. I don't know, but hopefully this helps somebody on this. Hi, husband, on this call. Um, so about 30 days before, we are frantically getting a living trust together while she was yet still alive, filling out all the paperwork and getting a notary. And when I say while she was yet still alive, it was the notary coming to the facility that she was in, and we're all praying that she is able to at least put an X on the piece of paper, right? So the notary gets there, and for sure it's a God thing where my mom recognizes me, is able to tell her name to the notary when he asks. He asked her some other questions, and she, you know, the Lord fumbled what sounded like right answers out of her mouth, and he accepted her signature, which was still an X, because she didn't really have use of her hands. And I don't know, maybe a month or so later, she actually did pass away. The purpose of having the living trust allowed me to be listed as a grantor executive to make some decisions once she did pass. I will say that I am very blessed. I have two other sisters from that marriage of my parents, and we get along well enough where there wasn't a big argument as of who was going to handle the business because they all know I'm the boss. So that's how it went down. That's how it was signed. A few things, though, that I would encourage everyone to do. And I know a lot of times we say, well, we don't need anything because we don't own any property. When I die, that's just, they can just fend for themselves. Whatever kids I got, they can, fight over it. And a lot of times you'd be surprised it's not just your children who will question things that you own. It'll be other family members that will want something as simple as maybe your album set or I don't know, an instrument or a couch, or I collect porcelain dolls, for example. There's boxes of them everywhere. Uh, Somebody may or may not want that in my family that I know of or don't know. But a living trust is an opportunity for me to list all of those things and designate even who I would want those things giving to. And you might say, well, that's what a will does. Sort of, but not really, right? And I would question where your will is. Is it just written on a piece of paper under a drawer? Because that's not really a valid will if it hasn't been notarized and witnessed. And you need both. But the living trust does allow for you to determine those things before you leave to try and help ease all of the pressure and stress and sadness and craziness that families go through when someone passes that they care about. And a few things we learned in the process is because my father preceded my mother in death, there were some things we should have did. We should have kept accounts open at least 90 days with both of their names on them because you'll be surprised what checks out of the blue roll in for you to want to cash, and you can't if you have removed names and closed accounts, unless you have a living trust leaving you as the grantor. Then you can go to your bank and bring that paperwork and get it cashed. However, it's easier if you leave things open for 90 days. um, we did that part. What we didn't do was, after the 90 days, we didn't remove my dad from the accounts, from the deed, the house deed, and different things like that. So when my mom passed right behind him, when we got ready to try to sell um, the property, we had to go back through a whole new process to get my dad, to prove that my dad passed before she did, because in the court world and the rules and the way things work, he would be next of kin. Well, he was already preceded her in death, so it took a little bit longer. There was some delays in trying to sell their property, because we had to submit death certificates and things to prove that he actually preceded her in death. But having the living trust that had already listed me as the person to handle those things made that process a lot easier. I have heard of people being in probate court, and a living trust will keep you out of probate court. But I have heard of people being in probate court for years. I have read stories where the state then, in the absence of a living trust, where the state then takes control of your property, even your bank account. So don't let it be a thing where you feel like, I don't have any property, so I don't need one. Do you have a bank account? Do you have a car? Do you have a laptop? Um, if you think your kids will fight over your cell phone, you should get for sure, a living trust, and all those things need to be in there. Account numbers, you should have a list of all of your account numbers, all of your passwords. Um, I know a lot of times we're like, well, I'm not doing that. uh, one thing that might be scary if you own property is, in the living trust, you have to transfer deed from yourself to whoever the grantor is going to be in the event of your death. And understand that that doesn't mean that whoever you just transferred it to now owns your house. That is not what that means. It goes into the trust, and nothing is executed until the trust needs to be executed. You still have full control while you are living to sell your property, um, buy another one. Make sure, if you buy more things, that you update your trust every 30 to 60 days at least. When you buy a new property, you add a new car, you close a bank account and open a new bank account. All of those updates need to happen on the living trust. And they're simple, and it's not, thousands of dollars for you to do these things and keep up with them. And it will save your family so much stress, because they'll already be under enough. And I know my example deals with parents, one who precedes another in death. But even for Kevin and I, deciding which one of our two children should be listed as the person in charge, we're not sure either of them. We might be looking for a stranger, right? We might be looking for a stranger to handle it, because while we believe our son would be the person, we know for sure Kiara is not um, the person to leave. And I don't know what they'll. I don't know. I don't know if we pass together, one precedes the other. If that happens, then there's more work than that the other person has to go back and do and update the will, so that the children don't really have to make any decisions. It's done for them. Again, I have my dad's album collection in the garage. I don't know that either one of my two kids will want that. I don't think they have any sentimental value or connection to it. So what would I do with it? Would I just, list it to be sold? It's probably worth something to somebody. I see albums listed on different things, and it's the little things you don't think about. Who would I want to give the car to? Um, I have My husband jokes. I don't know how much time I have. I haven't been paying attention to Ashley and her cues. My husband makes jokes that I have this sewing machine that, when I'm not using it, I should put a steering wheel on it, and we should go on a trip somewhere in it, because that's how much it costs. Um, my kids could care less about it, right? Well, what would I want done with it? Because I certainly, in my heart of hearts, would not want it thrown in the garbage. I wouldn't want it given to Goodwill. I do have a couple of friends, even some younger than I, not that that means that they'll outlive me, that I would really want to have it, because it is an expensive machine and they could, keep that whole thing going. So it's little things like that that I would for sure want in writing, and not on a piece of paper that's not notarized. When we did the living trust for my mother, we pulled it offline, filled it all out to the best of our ability, went down to the notary, got it signed, sent it in, and the court stamped it as a valid trust. I did that with no $1,000+ attorney.
Lawyer assistant.
Yeah. So it can be done. You just have to do it, and need to do it. And again, my passwords and account numbers are locked and saved and shared with my husband and my children. They know exactly where the life insurance policies and things are in the, the little box thing or whatever in the garage. And they're hard conversations to have, but you have to have them. We just have to have them. So if anybody on this Zoom call, if all you have is your car and a bank account, you need to designate who you want those things to go to if you pass right now after this Zoom call, because we don't know. So write the account numbers down, write your passwords down. They can do nothing with it while you are living. Just make sure you have your house in order. That's my advice, because it was a little roadblock, having my dad still on stuff. Who knew that you have to remove people if you are on documents shared together? So just things to think about, little things to think about. And if you have children that are outside of your existing marriage, like he has children from a previous relationship. My dad has 20 some children with an asterisk. We think it's 23. We think. When he passed, some of the insurance things that came up asked about those children. And I was able to show via the trust that because of this marriage and the things they accumulated together, this was their wishes for this, and this. So I was, again, the other siblings didn't delay anything going forward. Not that, and it's not to say that he didn't love them. He absolutely did. I talked to all of those siblings. It's just two separate type things, right? For example, Kevin is in the process of getting a life insurance policy separate from the one he has, so that the other children can be left something if the case should be. So I just wanted to share that. So that if all you have is $5 in your bank account and you don't want the state to have it, put something in writing. I don't want the state to have my $5. I want Kiera and Kevin to split it $2.50 each. If I don't say that on the piece of paper, though, the state's gonna get it and they're gonna keep it. The state has enough of our money. Y'all, come on, let's do better. That's all. That's all I got.
Amen. Amen. Sister Vicki, I appreciate you, and I want to open up for Q&A. You may have heard something that was similar to something you've been through or gone through, or something that came up for you. Tell me, what are your questions? You can put them in the chat, or you can just raise your hand, come off mute, and ask a question or share an encouragement. I'm gonna stop talking so y'all can ask questions. Who's out there?
Vicki, so I have a question.
Yes.
When you had talked about
Pastor Trina.
I said there was a hand also.
Okay.
There was a hand also. Want to do the hand first, or you want to?
I don't know whose hand went.
Bonita,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Bonita. You're on mute, dear. Unmute yourself.
She don't really want to talk to me.
You froze a little bit, girl. I'm gonna come back to you, Bonita. Pastor Trina, did you have a question? Nope. Dominic?
Sister Vicki,
Yes,
I believe that you said you did the trust yourself, or did you hire somebody? I didn't quite hear that part.
myself.
Okay. So I need to make a personal appointment with you. Is that what you're telling me?
I'm a charge. Look, I'm a charge. You know, I'm retired
I
now,
will
so
take you out to dinner. We
I
can
have
go
to
to
trick.
this, and yeah, I'll take you and your husband out. How about that?
It's easier than you think. It really is. And you absolutely should do it, especially if you, I mean, I don't know, you might believe your children's relationship that they're not going to fight, one way or another. But you never know, right? And this takes the guesswork out of it. I think the hardest part is always deciding who it will be, who you're going to leave as the executor to execute the trust for you.
Mhm. Amen. I'm going to take Benita and then Tim.
No, I was gonna say, like, you were so 100% right, Vicki. You know my story. Um, my mom passed away in February, and I had taken care of her for years. Like, she's lived with me, like, since she got sick, and I was the only one financially, physically, and everything. And my mom never wanted to talk about that kind of stuff. And before she had dementia and Parkinson's, and before she got real serious, I told her, I said, I know you don't like to have these conversations and you think it will be that simple, but we need to get this in writing that I am your legal power of attorney. I am your legal. I felt like there should have never been a discussion about anybody having anything, since almost everything she had, I paid for. Um, and
That-
and I straight up told her that. There's like really nothing to argue over. I bought it. It's mine. But they're still her children. She wanted them to have things. I said, I'll think about it. But even with all of that, knowing that I was the power of attorney and that I had the ultimate say so as to anything that happened, financially, medically, all of it, my siblings still wanted to argue about what was supposed to be done and were mad at me, uh, with the way that they had ideas in their head about what they wanted to see happen. And unfortunately, since it was all landing in my lap, I never felt like I promised my mom I would include them in the conversation, but I had to make it clear that I was going to make the final decision, especially since I was the one that was going to do all the legwork.
Mm-hmm.
And I moved to Texas from California in 22. And my mom has been sick for years, like years, but she got really sick after we moved here. And between 22 and 25, they came to see her twice.
Yeah. It doesn't
Like,
matter how often they come see. If you don't have it in writing that you are the person to
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I know that. But I just felt like it should be, I always felt like why is that even a conversation?
Mm-hmm.
You loved her more in death than you did in life? Like,
Yeah.
for real?
Yeah.
And
So,
Benita, you bring up a good point because we're talking about getting things in order, and oftentimes it is the emotion. And Yasmine will talk about this a little bit in her part. It's the emotion, the relationships, good, bad, or ugly,
right.
that kind of are a part of it as well. That we talk about. I have a couple more. I'm gonna go from Tim, and then I'm gonna read Star's question because I know she's at a basketball game, and then Bishop right after Star. Tim Gulley, our brother.
Hello, everyone. Thank you,
Oh,
Dominic and Kelley, for doing this. This is the information I've been looking for. I understand the living trust and all that kind of stuff, but I have a young adult son, and the living trust information, I believe she said that we can pull that down from our state's website.
It's not even a state website. If you just Google living trust, you'll get a ton of them for free that you can download.
Okay. And then the other information is that if something should happen to me, my son falls into this windfall of money.
Mm-hmm.
He is not in the position to manage that type of money.
So
And
you need to name someone else as executor and put that in your living trust of how you want it done. If you want to do by age, he gets this amount at each age. You can dictate all of that.
Okay.
Yep.
That's exactly what I was looking for.
Yep. And Yasmine will go into details about this as well, because she do it for a living. So this is really good, because it is a lot of what Vicki shares is, how do we do this now?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have $3,000 to go hire an attorney. I need to do what we're talking about now. How do we do this now? And how do we get information about how to adjust, how to go deeper, how to even learn more? And so when we get Yasmine on the line, she'll be sharing some of that. Bishop.
Oh, you going to me? It seemed like you skipped some people.
No, sir.
That was Star.
Oh, I'm sorry, Star. Star had a question. Let me read Star's question. Star says, amen, such valuable information. Wish we could have a course about all of this. Where can we go to get help? Ulysses and Starling Dupree need advisement for sure. We don't have a life insurance or policy. And so I'm going to hold on that question from Star until we get to Yasmine, because she's going to deal with some of that directly, Star. So stay tuned for that. Like, I think that Ashley put that in the chat as well. Bishop.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. I just have a simple question to you, Sister Vicki. You mentioned about updating the trust. Do you have to go back and have it notarized again every time you update it?
Yes.
Oh, so every, what did you say, 30 to 60 days?
Or every time there's a change. I mean, nothing might happen in 30 days.
Okay, I know, I understand that, but every time you make a change, you got to go back and have it
notarized.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Y'all good?
Any other questions for Vicki? All right, y'all give Vicki some love. Give her some love, some chat, some emojis. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
We'll hear her voice again as we close. I have a little activity for our speakers. We've been on the phone for a minute, so stretch out a little bit. You know, I know it's early over there in California. It's lunchtime over here. So as we get ready to shift into our next speaker, her name is Yasmine Brooks. I'm going to introduce Yasmine. Yasmine is a private wealth advisor with over a decade of experience helping individuals, families, and business owners build and preserve wealth through comprehensive planning, investment management, and multi-generational strategies. She is currently pursuing an MBA at the University of Georgia to further strengthen her leadership and financial expertise. As a devoted single mother and caregiver to her grandmother, Yasmine brings empathy and a relationship-centered approach to guiding clients toward their financial and life goals. That's her professional introduction. Here's the Mama Kelley edition. Yasmine worked with me at a large foundation in Atlanta, and that is where God connected us for life. She has overcome significant loss, pain, tragedy, and challenge. She grew up in Pittsburgh and at a point said, no more, and packed up her 2 kids and headed south to Atlanta. Her heart is to help all of us get ready to be ready for whatever comes in life, not just death, but job loss, health issues, etc. She's a delight to work with, and you will thoroughly enjoy engaging with her. Yasmine, I'm about to spotlight you. Take it away.
You know, I'm never ready for this. Even though I try to prepare, I try. But, you know, everybody, just to start one, yes, Mama Kelley, I can't thank you enough for even the part that you've played thus far in my career, especially moving here and making the decision to move away from my family. And I found family in you. So it's been absolutely amazing. It's been able to, you know, really catapult my career in ways that I never, ever expected to grow here without my support. So I do want to start by saying that. Second, we're doing construction at our office. So if you hear like knocking around, I apologize. I didn't know they were going to be this loud. So I will be in and out of mute as they're doing things. But really, just as everything was being said, you know, I've been in finance for about 10 years. I started in finance basically because I read an article on George Soros, who's a hedge fund manager, and he had made $8.2 billion the year before. I don't come from money. I don't come from investing. I always joke that the 2008 financial crisis didn't hit us because we weren't invested. We weren't affected at all. So we weren't there to even know what was going on in the market or Bernie Madoff and what he was doing. We weren't affected by any of that. But when I read that article on George Soros, whatever it was that he was doing, I knew that that's what I wanted for myself, for my family, and whatever I needed to do, that's what I wanted to do to get there. And so I then pursued a degree in finance, and I had secured an internship at Merrill Lynch. And so I started in big banks investing where we're not your typical client. And I started 10 years ago. However, I was fully licensed as a producer February 2020. And if anybody remembers the pandemic, everything happened in March 2020. So I was not able to go out and get clients like you could before because you weren't able to talk with people face to face. And I am from Clareton, Pennsylvania, specifically, which is a smaller town just south of Pittsburgh. I could have gotten everybody in my community together and we still would not have been welcome on Merrill Lynch or Morgan Stanley's platform at the time. So I really had to find a way to really make it make sense for myself, for those who I aspired to encourage in this financial walk. But most importantly, as I began the steps to retire my grandmother, I realized how much finances is so much more than just your investments. So I always looked at it like, if you're not investing in this or you don't have this type of account, then you don't really have your finances in order. Until my grandma got down here, I retired her in August of 2024, and she had no long-term care. She hadn't established her Medicare plan. She hadn't had established life insurance beneficiaries. Her house, she just left and left my sister in the house. She just left the car. And it was so much more than I could have ever imagined. She was just like, yeah, Yazzy's going to take care of me. And that's really where it was left at. So having to go through that experience personally, it really shaped how I've been able to help the families that I encounter now, all of my clients now. It really comes from a place of service as opposed to before, where it was a place of finance for me. So if you do well, I do well financially. However, now it's, I talk to Kelley and I know her daughter and I know her husband and I know your family. That means so much more than we started at this number and now we're at this number. So it's really a heart project at this point, and I've just been blessed to be in the seat that I have been to help as I can. But whenever somebody had asked, like, who can I ask? How do I get help? I'm here to answer any questions from anybody. And I know, like, once we go through all of my slides, a lot of people will be like, well, I don't have the money to do this, or I don't have the money to do that. My heart is not in a space of you need a number. I've been blessed that I don't have to prospect clients or anything like that. So I am able to help in a capacity that I was not in the past. So I don't want you to think that wherever your current financial picture is limits you in where you can go or where I hope that you're able to go. So that's my long, short introduction to me.
I love that. And I think that one of the things I asked Yasmine to do was to break down some of these terms we hear. Advanced directive, living will, revocable trust. I just wanted her to do a quick master class on terms. And so, yeah, go ahead, baby.
So Yasmine, how you doing? I also want you to add to your term. Can you share the term compound money, compound interest? Mm-hmm. For us, Kelley and I, that is what got me into the savings part. If you can briefly talk about that.
Okay. Back to you, Yasmine.
Absolutely. And so before we even get into estate planning, just from a basic financial 101, I know a lot of us don't invest because it comes down to lack of understanding. Nobody wants to put money into something they just don't get. But just as Dom was just mentioning, compound interest is the only way you can potentially get to a space of not having to generate money with your eyes open, if that makes sense. So if you think about Warren Buffett is one of the greatest investors ever. He makes beyond the numbers that he makes is just astronomically per second, and that is compound interest. So that is that growth on the dollar that is sitting. So today, if you have $100, you put it under your mattress and you go get it next year, your $100 has lost value because it will not buy the same thing next year that it will buy today. So there is an importance in compound interest, which you can do with just your basic high yield savings account. So I don't want you to think, oh my goodness, I can't have an investment or brokerage account or anything like that. High yield savings account are just like your regular savings accounts, but they're generating almost 4% interest. And there's no penalty for taking money out. There's no contribution limits like your retirement accounts. You're just growing your money. But as a basic, before we get to estate planning, because this is like, I can do this all day and I'm not going to do that to y'all, but I can do this all day. I'm going to tell y'all just a general breakdown. If I was talking to one of my clients or talking to an initial client meeting, the most basic thing is making sure that you have that 3 to 6 months of emergency cash reserve. That is in a high yield savings account. And you can use like Marcus, and I'll make sure that I type up something to send over to Kelley and she can share this with everyone. But, like you have Marcus on a lot of these accounts are online. So you don't have to go into a bank. You don't have to, have a certain minimum, but they just give you that free money. You don't want to leave money on the table if they're going to give you money. So there's Marcus, there's Ally, there's Discover, there's Capital One. There's a lot of high yield savings that are just giving you let's just say 3.5%, because Wednesday, I believe the Fed cut rates, which means it's cheaper for you to borrow money. So when the Fed starts talking, oh, rates need to cut, the Fed cuts rates, that means it's cheaper for you to borrow money because it's cheaper in the background for the banks to borrow from each other. That's that Fed rate that they're talking about. Like the Fed cut rates 25 basis points. Probably sounds crazy when they say it, but that just means you go out and get your mortgage. It was 6.75% yesterday was the average mortgage. Well, today, now it's 6.25. That's that number that they're talking about. And so from there, once you've been able to establish that savings, and that does not mean you have to have it today. Like today, my expenses are $2,000 a month, so I need to make sure I have $6,000 in an account today. No, that means I know that my cash reserve should be $6,000. So how much do I have right now? Let's say I have $4,000. You know what your bills are, you know what your capacity is. So I can set aside maybe $2,000 right now, but now the goal is to make sure that I have that emergency reserve in 6 months. So divide from 6 months, I still need $4,000. So how much will it take me in 6 months to get that cash reserve? Once you get that cash reserve, the stress that comes up off of your chest is unbelievable, because now if something happens, I'm not sitting here waiting for somebody else to pay me so that I can eat or so that my bills are paid or so, or the economy is crazy right now. They're laying people off. I may be laid off, but I have a month of comfort where I can do the job search. You don't ever want to be in a position where they let you go and I need to hurry up and accept anything just because I don't even have a savings.
So wonderful. And so you'll give us something and we'll just know. I know that Yasmine she's full of all this information. So we will download it to a document and make sure that everybody gets it in our follow-up email. She's going to walk through the estate planning, and then we're definitely going to take some questions like we did with Vicki. So Yasmine, on to you again.
Yes. So just to start, I want to make sure everybody can see the screen, the estates. Okay, perfect.
Yes, we can see.
All right. So just as we were stating before, this is really just high level information to get a basic understanding of, what it really means and why it matters, and how everyone, regardless of net worth, can put essential pieces in place to protect your family. So if you see here, estate planning isn't just for high net worth households. It's really about making your wishes known. So just like Vicki was saying, if it's not in writing, it really doesn't matter. So who handles your affairs, who receives your property, and how your family is cared for. But without a plan, the state makes those decisions for you. So just like they were saying, whatever's in the checking account, the state's gonna decide. Okay. From there, we just have, and don't hesitate. You guys can put questions in the chat. I'll answer your questions. I don't want you to feel stifled in anything. But, just in a simple estate plan saves families enormous time costs. One, because it avoids probate, which can last years. There is no time frame on probate. However, all of those expenses and bills are still due. That does not wait just because of probate. So probate, even for modest estates, can take months or even years. And so a basic plan will help avoid those issues and provide guidance during those difficult times. Okay. So here, these 5 items form the foundation of an effective estate plan. Most people actually already have pieces of this in place and just need to make sure everything is up to date. So as Vicki was saying, there may not be a specific time frame for you on when that information needs to be updated, but make sure it's updated as often changes are taking place within your life. It would really be a shame for you to pass and your ex-wife is your beneficiary. It happens all the time. And you think that y'all had a good relationship, but she deeply did not like the new wife. And now all of that money is hers. And none of it is your wife's. You want to make sure that you plan for those things. Make sure there's not going to be any issue, because based on legality, it is the ex-wife's. So it's what she decided. And I've had cases where, there was a husband who was sick. He was in the hospital, and it came down to, like, are we pulling the plug? Are we not pulling the plug? And his wife was there. However, his ex-wife was still listed, and she came and pulled the plug. So we don't want that for everybody. It can be really unfortunate. Hold on, anybody, please. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back one. Oh, we did that. All right. And so here, with our will and everything, even if you rent, have a modest bank account, or own only a vehicle, a will is still essential. So most importantly, it's the only way to legally name guardians for your children. So even if you don't rent, even if you don't have a bank account, a will is the only way to essentially legally name guardians for your children. And then we have our power of attorney. A power of attorney is critical. If you are ever incapacitated without one, your family may have to petition the court to act on your behalf. So the power of attorney prevents financial chaos also. So these are things like you have a house and maybe there were tax or liens or anything. Your family needs to pay for the funeral. However, the bank is like, no, we need our money. You want to make sure that you have somebody who can effectively speak for you. Okay. And then here we have our healthcare and HIPAA release, different information. This healthcare directive just ensures medical decisions reflect your values. If you're do not resuscitate, you don't want them pumping on your chest just because that was ideal for what the staff thought at that time. So it also gives family clear guidance so they're not forced to make impossible decisions without direction. So that, like I can't imagine being in the situation where I have to make the decision to take somebody off of life support that I truly love. I don't know that I'd be strong enough to make that decision in that time. So you want to make sure that you have, a plan that can effectively remove, and this may seem cold or crass, but really you want to remove the emotion from a lot of these decisions that you'll have to make in this part of life because it is inevitable. So you just want to make sure that it's done as efficiently as possible. One of the most important things that you can do in all of this is your beneficiary designations and updating this information. Any beneficiary will override your will. So even if you have your will set up that I want my kids 30, 33, 33, 34 in split, and then you have an IRA that lists someone else, that will is not going to touch that IRA. So keep all of your documents, just keep it all together, keep it all updated, and reach out and ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. One of the biggest surprises for many people, whichever name is your beneficiary or who's ever on your beneficiary form wins, basically. So just keep that in mind. Even if your will says something differently, whoever's name is listed is who wins. And that's crucial after marriage, divorce, and even having additional children. Okay. So then here, when it comes to organizing your information, estate planning isn't only documents, it's also communication. Communication is really big. A simple list can be priceless when it comes to loved ones and, when they're trying to piece everything together. So organization is a gift to your family members, whether that means everything is in a box, everything is in a closet, just keep it all together because when you are trying to prepare for, let's say you have your parent in one state, but all of your family is in another state. So we need to make a move. You don't want them to have to try to find papers all over the place to see if you have transportation included within your life insurance policy, where within your death benefits. You don't want all of that stuff to have to also fall into your family member on top of dealing with your loss. So those are things that you want to make sure that you're organized on. And then when it comes to a trust and when to consider a trust, trusts are not only for the wealthy. In many cases, middle income families use trusts to simplify the legal process and provide clearer guidelines for children or even blended families. So it's not just for wealthy people. And you don't have to. So as a professional, I'm always going to recommend sitting with an estate attorney, and I can always facilitate that conversation if you did want to reach out to an estate attorney, just to make sure that everything is cleared. However, there are free online services like LegalZoom. You can also pull Chat GPT can draft you a trust. You have many options to take care of everything. Okay. So, and then as we continue, and as I was touching on before, most estate planning is far simpler and far more affordable than people assume. So it's true that not planning is much more costly than planning your estate and your matters. So it's not always a dollar amount that you're looking to have in order to get your affairs in order. And really how to get started, take inventory of it seems tedious, it seems a lot, but it'll pay off in the end. You're going to want to make sure you take inventory of everything that you have. So starting is the hardest part because I don't feel like writing down that I have this China cup and I've got 15 of them. But you don't know, like maybe later something popped in the market and now the blue ink on the China cup got it, the one cup, $10,000 a cup. You really don't know. So you want to make sure that you're looking at everything that you have, so that you can take stock of what it is that you do have. So once the foundation is set, maintaining your estate becomes super easy, and it's very empowering to yourself and to your family, because you know that you've taken care of them even after you're no longer here. So it's really important to start that. And then as the final takeaway, these are just some terms, and you will all get this presentation as well. But estate planning is one of the most meaningful gifts that you can provide to your family and the people that you love. So it really reduces uncertainty, minimizes conflict, and assures that your wishes are respected. But as I was mentioning, I am here to answer any questions that you have, whether it's right now, whether you want to shoot me an email, whether you want to send me a text message. I will answer your questions. It's easy, like by questioning and things like that, it's easy for me to, shoot you an email in the middle of the day if I have other things going on. But I will always answer whatever questions I can to make or provide a stressless solution to you. Okay. But I will open up for any questions that.
Thank you. So y'all see why I invited her? She's a bad mamma jamma. She knows her stuff cold. And so I actually want to go back to Star's question that she had in the chat earlier. Star, I don't know if you want to bring your voice in or if you want me to reread your question. Can you hear me?
Yes, I was actually looking at the Living Trust and will, and I just want to say good morning and thank you guys for this information. I think a lot of times, just really short, we do ministry well, but this is part of ministry because not only are we living, but we're living to impart things to those after we pass. And so we must plan accordingly. And so I know as I've gotten older, I'm like, this is something that's important. And so I was looking at some things actually on Instagram, and there were about 4 or 5 different people that said the exact same thing, that if I was to die and my husband, that our home would end up in probate, which I did not realize. That my bank account could be freezed, if I'm correct. And then a lot of the things that you were talking about, all 3 presenters was 2 presenters, was the living trust, and then talking to my children and I guess family members. That really opened my eyes this morning about who gets what. So just wanted to know, my first question is, what would be my next step if we didn't have any of that? We have that knowledge now, but what would be the next step going forward?
So it would be making sure that you take account of everything that you have, so that when you're establishing those guidelines so if you choose to go living trust, what the difference is between living trust or revocable trust and a trust or irrevocable trust. A living trust holds your assets while you're living and distributes after death. Whereas an irrevocable trust means these assets are going into a trust, but not even you can make a change. It's up to the beneficiary. So
Okay.
without the beneficiary's approval, even while you're living, you can't make any changes.
Okay.
And so you're just going to want to make sure that you have, so all of your investment accounts, if you own your home, if you have any rental properties, life insurance declarations, health insurance, anything that accounts for your finances should be set in one part of your file or booklet. And then there's going to be like a medical sector. And that's all of the information gathering that you would do on your own first.
Okay. So I will be retiring, I think, in 7 years as a teacher. I know I get a pension. What's my next step other than just putting them on it and receiving a percentage amount? Would that also go into the living trust? Am I correct?
So one question that I have, in retirement, do you have a financial professional that you work with?
Not really. I mean, I just met with our financial Well, for teachers, I would say for educators, but something
Okay.
that's personally within
So
our home, no, I don't.
you spoke with a retirement specialist about
Right.
your, okay. So then with your, and I'm not going to ask like individual specific questions to your picture, just
Yes.
general. Okay. So, and don't think that I'm being short or crass or anything. This is just how I got the information. Okay. Who told you you're retiring in 7 years?
Well, I was talking to our advisor and I asked her how many years do I have in education. And so I talked with the coworker and she's like, oh, you got 11 more years. And so when I sat down and spoke with Miss Foster, she said, well, I don't know who you're talking to, but make sure you're talking with us so that we can look over your numbers. It may be 7, it may be longer, but it depends on what you can afford and what you and your spouse or whoever you're with agrees upon that. But she gave me the number 7 because of what we were looking at.
Okay. And have you thought about what retirement looks like to you? So if a number did not matter and if all things were perfect, have you thought about what retirement looks like to you?
For me, retirement, I mean, if it was perfect, like you said, is being an author and illustrator and I guess feeding back into the educational system with doing conferences and doing advisement for educators. But to put it all out in black and white, no, I have not. Because I know that's not a surety.
Okay. And outside of your, so you'll have a pension. I would assume that you will have some Social Security income. Now, what that number would be, it's still up in the air based on your life expectancy. But just with those two, do you have any assets or investments outside of your pension and retirement account?
No, just the home my husband and I own.
You own your home? Okay.
So what Yasmine, this is a master class, y'all. It's not Yasmine trying to put Star on blast.
Oh, okay.
This
Yes.
does. Right. No, I just wanted to say that because
I mean, it's good.
This is how a person that does what Yasmine does makes sure they're bringing you the full context of what's best for you in your situation. Bishop, I see your hand. I know you have a question. You're up next. But go ahead, Yasmine, as you guys do this. And then I know y'all going to be offline because y'all both in Atlanta. Go ahead.
I want to just pull up something really quick because, Starling, I do want to talk to you outside of here just so that you can have, because you're approaching retirement, you're in that, like, what we call it is in our GPS system, you're in that security or protective phase. So I just want to show you this document that I go over with all of my clients so that you can see when it comes to your assets. So this is going to be for everybody here today. Look at your assets. This is how we should be looking at things. Did this move? Oh, wait. Okay. So this is a 4 cornerstone. So you'll see here, you have your income statement and your balance sheet. This is all of your cash flow. So your checking, your savings, this is that 3 to 6 months of savings that would be in this quadrant. And then you'll list out all of your other accounts. If you guys take a screenshot of this, I can also send it to Kelley as well. This will be like your basics for your, where do I start? This is going to be important. So you'll break out this information here within that income statement and balance sheet. And this is your cash flow. Here, your risk management, you want to make sure that you're protected. Make sure that you have the right amount of life insurance. Make sure you have the right amount of disability income. Remember that your employer often only provides 60% of your current income. So if something were to happen to you today, would your family be able to survive with 60% of your income? If not, we need a personal or individual policy. Here within your workplace assets, that's your 401ks, your IRAs, or not your IRAs, but your 401ks. Your as a teacher, you would have a 403b. Yeah, so you'll have those accounts here. Those are taxed differently, and I'm gonna tie it all together for everybody. Here, you'll see your non-workplace assets. So that would be your brokerage accounts. If you have an E-Trade, Charles Schwab, Fidelity, any type of brokerage account. Those will be listed here. How all of this works together. You think of it as a tax triangle. In retirement, this is when the money gets crazy, like funny to understand for your family. So when you're in, even before retirement, if you're looking at your assets as a triangle, your 401ks, your traditional IRAs are your pre-tax accounts, meaning I'm putting money in there today in the hopes that when I take the money out in the future, they're going to charge me less taxes for this income.
Okay.
Your Roth IRA is going to be the after tax or post tax or control tax, where I'm putting it in after tax dollars, but in retirement, when I take it out, I'm not taxed at all. It just grew, and now I got this money. Then you have your after tax bucket, which is your traditional, not deferred tax, which is your Roth, but your traditionals and different things there, or your CDs, those types of things. That is your those assets. They have liquid value. You won't have a penalty for taking those monies out if you need it before retirement. However, all of these accounts work together. If I need $100,000 in retirement and I only have a 401k, and I take a withdrawal of $100,000, they're going to tax me at my marginal tax rate. So now I've only got, let's say, 70,000. Whereas if you have all of your buckets in order, then you take some from your after-tax bucket, some from your pre-tax bucket, and some from your control tax bucket, and you would end up, we'll take 50 from this bucket, 25 from this bucket, and 25 from this bucket, where you'll end up with 90,000 because they're only taxing a small portion of the withdrawal from that tax account. So all of your triangle has to work together. And that's also going to affect your beneficiaries. If you have any children who, like you guys are phenomenal parents, your kids are out here working and making money on their own. You pass away, now they've inherited all this money and you're messing up their taxes. Nobody else thinks about that.
Wow.
So now I'm out here. I feel like I've done well for myself. Now you want to, and this is how a lot of people think. Now you want to go ahead and pass. You done dump $200,000 on me. And now it looks like not only did I make my income, I also made an additional $200,000. So now I'm in a 42% tax bracket, and you're messing up everything, because this is not like I get a tax bill later. It's not like it came out because it's inheritance. So now I just have this $40,000 tax bill, and how am I supposed to manage that? So these are things that it's a lot. It's definitely a lot to think about.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Star, you and Yasmine will definitely be connected.
Yes,
to go deeper with you and Ulysses.
Yes.
Bishop had a question. Yas, you can take your screen down so we can see Bishop.
Did I? Oh.
I'm off mute, Bishop. Bishop Turner, you're on mute.
Is that better?
Yes, sir.
It disappears on me and I have a time trying to find it. I want to ask a question in regards to how to avoid something that I encountered in dealing with someone in my family destroyed the will, became the power of attorney of the person, and took over their bank accounts, spent everything, took everything because they had destroyed them. I'm wondering, how can you avoid someone getting power of attorney toward the end of life and then doing all of whatever they want to do, and the only thing that this individual did not get a chance to do was to sell the house? And then that's when I stepped in and had to go through probate and deal with all of it, because we all had copies of the will and the trust, but that was not accepted.
Was it set up with an attorney?
Yes.
And was the initial will set with an attorney prior to the POA being established?
Yes.
So then in that case, legally, just look at it from the institution side. You can only go by the paperwork. So then at that point, you want to make sure that you have a trusted contact so that as a financial professional, I can identify. And a trusted contact does not mean they can do anything to your account. It just means that I've been working with this person for X amount of time. Something seems a little bit different in our interaction. Let me contact Rufus because this just seems odd. And you've established that this is a trusted contact. So then I call you and I'm like, hey, Gene just came in with some guy named Bob. Do you know anything about him? Or, it adds a layer of security. But in all fairness, to that individual, there is no way to really mitigate if an attorney sets up and binds that contract. You just have to set that kind of firewall by having trusted contacts on all accounts.
Oh, so you put it on the account?
Yeah, so you would put it on each individual institution, and that would mean that they have to contact somebody before certain transactions can take place with your account. Now, that does not mean that if you are a trusted contact, you can now call in and say, I want to take a distribution of whatever. That does not mean that. That just means that I have to contact you when I feel that things are off within your accounts. Or even if somebody else isn't with that person and it just seems like there's like a delay, as people get older, it seems like, oh, they weren't as sharp as they were the last time they came in. They're asking for $50,000 when they don't normally ask for anything like that. Let me call this person to see what's been going on, because I don't know what's been going on personally. So let me call their daughter, who's a trusted contact on this account, to see if they've been doing anything or if there's anything that's off.
And if the trusted contact says there is something off, that could block it, or do they?
That will block it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can't move forward.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. I see a question from Sister Wendy Shotlow Hatchell. Come off mute.
Hello. I am trying. I'm trying over here in California, and I'm trying to come on camera. And where am I? There I am. I'm sorry. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so I kind of wrote my question out because I'm trying to make sure I ask this appropriately for the professional. Yes. So I'm in a career transition, been laid off as of a year, 2 years now, going on 2 years. And so my severance has been fully used. Okay. Fully used the severance. And then I've been drawing from my TOD investment to pay for expenses. And every time I draw from my TOD investment, I'm like, how else should I be investing this versus paying for my expenses? And so I do have a company with my husband, Over the Top Coaching. And so I do have work there, but it's not sustaining me yet. And so I want to be smart about what should I be doing with what I have left and not just,
And I was just going to throw out, I thought this was a good question because what I'm seeing in this market, so I'm working in corporate and do the business, but what I'm seeing in this environment today, there's a lot of companies letting people go. They're getting severance packages, but I know you had mentioned, traditionally it could take 6 months, but in this market, it's over a year plus. So I would imagine you're probably hearing things like this, more common than ever. So that's why I thought this would be beneficial to hear your thoughts about it.
That's what he
Absolutely. So one, most basic, this is why it is always important to, like, even when you don't think that you have enough or should be, it is always important to talk with a financial professional to establish that foundation, so that you're proactively planning for the unplannable. So I was saying, I'm not sure if you were here in the beginning, so making sure you have like that 3 to 6 months of cash reserves, and different things like that. But then when it comes to your severance, so at the time that so I've had a lot of clients, I've got a lot of government employees. So during this shutdown, a lot is going on right now in our economy. So one, like the first thing that like popped up in my head when you were like, I was laid off, it's been 2 years. What did you do with your 401k?
So you're just gonna get right in my business, huh? Okay. So what had happened was I really didn't do anything with it. I didn't make any investments. I took a position of I want to like a squirrel. Let me just keep it sitting over here and only use it to pay the expenses that are necessary. And so that's what I did with that and with the TOD investment.
Okay, so have you depleted the 401k?
Oh yeah, the 401k portion has been depleted because it's been 2 years, Yasmine.
Okay. So you know the tax hit that was sustained, like taking those
we went
funds.
through that already. That was
Yeah, that's been paid for already.
I got gray hairs over that already. We into the next.
Okay. And then so your help, so I'm just going like down the checklist of things that, all right. So was Cobra offered to you at the time? And if so, what was the term? And also what was the term of your severance?
Cobra may have been offered, it may have been something else, but I just switched to.
Yeah, because I work for a company, so she was able to get on my benefits.
Are you still in? All right. So, and I'm not being like in y'all business, but I just got it. Okay. So right now with your employer, when you did your, because I know open enrollment just closed or is current. When you elected your benefits, are you guys generally healthy? No, like extended visits annually or?
Correct.
Thank God, but correct.
Okay, great. When you elected your benefits this year, did you go with like your PPO or your DP, like those programs, or did you go high deductible?
No, PPO. So the premier health, benefit option.
Okay, so then
you get to pick and choose your own doctor.
So then that's where for next year, you guys are going to want to remember, because you are healthy, don't do that. You go high deductible, and then you elect to have an HSA account.
So I still do have an HSA. Okay.
So when you have that HSA, you're only able to have the HSA if you have a high deductible plan. So they may offer an MRA, an FSA, and all of those with other plans, but the high deductible plan.
Gotcha. So I do have a health equity account where I can invest.
That's separate.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, health equity is separate. So with the high deductible plan, so it'll look like, let's say that for a family, your deductible is $8,000 per year, but you're not going to the doctors other than your preventative care and different things like that.
Sure.
So you elect to have the HSA and then contribute up to your deductible, because then all of those expenses are now tax-free.
Got it.
And then if you don't use it, you can invest it, and it is tax-free money.
That's good.
Okay.
That's good.
And that helps. So then your expenses, so then your health care, you're on his health care, you're now saving, because that's coming out of your check all year. It's not, I'm putting $5,000 in there right now. It's coming out your check each year pre-tax. So it is not after tax, it's actually less. So now let's say your salary is $80,000 a year, and I put $8,000 in my HSA. Well, for a family, the contribution maximum, I believe, is 83.6, something like that. So let's say you put that in there, but your $80,000 income is now looked at like $72,000 of income. So then you're only taxed on $72,000. And then any medical expenses is tax-free because you're going to use your HSA debit card. So your co-pays, your prescriptions, the baby need a Band-Aid, we at Target, I'm going to use my HSA. And then, I didn't use the money, or I got a little money left over. I'm now going to transfer this and invest it, and it's just going to grow for retirement.
That's awesome.
So I have so many more questions, and he took up.
Okay,
I got you. Look,
I was gonna say,
Yasmine got a phone number, got an email. She love doing this. So
I will answer any question. I'll send you. So a lot of my clients, when they go through this transition phase, you're going to want to take stock of all of your mandatory monthly expenses and where you can cut costs. I'll send you a spreadsheet for that. You're going to want a debt repayment calculator, because it may sound cliche, but you're going to want to tackle those things like in an avalanche or snowball method. But you take it in bite-sized chunks. Like, it all seems like a lot, like, oh my goodness, it's been 2 years, I don't know what to do. Take it in bite-sized chunks. It'll all work out.
Everything written down. Thank you so much.
We have one more question from our first speaker, Vicki. So Vicki, you want to bring your voice in and ask that, or you want me to read it?
Oh, I can ask it. Because I don't think I'm the only one with the question, but
wait, let me just also add, a lot of the time when you get the high deductible, because it costs the company a lot less money, they give you money in your HSA, but make sure you check with your HR representative.
That is true. I just want to be clear, an advance directive, which is like life decisions that would happen if I'm hospitalized, versus a will, which in my mind, I see as a smaller items or guidance, and a revocable living trust as assets and different things that grants someone else kind of permission to maneuver it over a living trust are 4 different things. Yes. And do I need all 4?
So the advance directive is only medical.
Right.
So that is only like establishing that it's like provides autonomy. So it ensures the right to accept or refuse medical treatment. That's for advance directive. When it comes to a trust, a living trust, that is more so your assets. That's not medical at all. That is like your financial picture. The living trust part of it just establishes that me as the designee or the person establishing the trust, I can make changes while I'm living.
Right.
The irrevocable trust would mean that once I've established this trust, I can't make any changes, but you, my beneficiary, if I say, you know what, I included the house, I included my TOD account, but I don't want to put the IRA in there. And then 10 years later, it's like, I actually do want to put the IRA in there. I have to call my beneficiary to get permission to make any changes for that irrevocable trust. So I can't revoke it. I can't make no changes. And then for the will, that's just providing a general guideline for how you want things to go. So if that is not like notarized, all that stuff, it does not have to be legally accepted by the institution.
So a trust is better than a will?
Yes, because the will, so the trust will outline all of your beneficiaries, all of your accounts. The will is just, will be overridden by the trust, by beneficiaries, can really be overridden by anything. The will is just really for your family to understand how everything is going. Whereas legally, you're going to want the trust, you're going to want whether it's an irrevocable trust or a revocable trust, or a testamentary trust. There's many, many different options.
Okay.
But the will, so like the will directs the asset distribution after death, if that makes sense, but it can still go through probate.
Correct.
The trust will manage assets during life and after life, and it avoids probate.
Got it. Okay.
Good deal. Good deal.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have 8 minutes left. I'm gonna take is that our cousin Dennis hanging out? Is that Daryl hanging out by the Golden Gate Bridge? Come off mute, ask your question. You're on mute, cuz he got a twin, y'all, so I thought it was Dennis.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, I got Golden Gate Bridge because that's where I want to be. Uh, I have a question. I don't know if you guys addressed it or not. And I understand everything about the trust and everything. But what I was wondering about is litigation. Can, in all of those documents, they say, are you of sound mind? And going back to what the bishop said, that somebody went and made them do it again, can't that be contested?
So there will be so in the event, like with what he had dealt with, where everything was changed, technically from the bank side, from the institution side, there's nothing we can do. We have to honor the legal documents. Now, as far as litigation, we can then facilitate that relationship and that conversation with an estate attorney that we should have talked with in the beginning, so that we can make sure that anything that needs to be adjusted or changed or then backpedaled in can be done. However, like on the front end from the institution side, it would have to be awarded as written. So we're not able to say, if there hasn't been anything established as far as like what's the, like your, I don't know why I'm like drawing a blank. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank, but like that, literally, she out of
Yeah,
her mind. She don't know what she doing
right,
right now.
exactly.
We're
That's what I'm
requesting money.
saying. If you
Yeah.
take your grandmother down to the lawyer and he say, are you a sound mind? And she say, yeah, I'm a sound mind.
Then he has to, unless you guys are willing to go the medical route and prove that she is not, like he has to honor what she is saying, unless he sees himself like, you know what, I know she said she was fine, but she was actually exhibiting signs of like dementia, and I personally don't feel comfortable with her signing these documents, because then his license is on the line.
Okay.
So it's just like regular court. If I go to court and I lose my case and I feel like my lawyer didn't do his job, I'm going to go and say that I didn't have like sound judgment within my lawyer, or whatever the case may be. So you can always go through litigation, but then it becomes a time and like cost thing, because it's not.
Well, I'm thinking about like relatives that you forgot all about, and then they decide, hey, I want some of that.
Yeah. And unfortunately, because the dynamics of family is different per family, from like on this side of the table, I wouldn't know what y'all personal family dynamic was. So I wouldn't be able to honor just
Right.
because like, let's say for me, I'll use me for instance. I have my grandmother, I moved her down here. I have a perfectly fine mom who could have taken my grandma, but my gram's down here. If my mom were to come down here and say, like go to somebody and be like, no, I should be able to do all of this. Like now that my gram's passed, like she's not passed, but like if she had passed, and she comes down here and she's like, no, I should be able to do this. I'm her daughter. Technically she is her daughter. If there is nothing established that says you can't, like, that says that I'm the executor, then it's her daughter that is going to go through all of that, regardless of what I say. They don't know that I've been taking care of her all this time.
Right.
So they can only go by what is written.
Okay. Thank you.
Time. Dominic has a question, and we have 4 minutes left. He has a statement, not a question, and I have a close that the Lord told me to make sure I say. Okay. So we're going to do it in 4 minutes or less, sir.
Oh, yeah, go. That's good. Yasmine, leave us with one out of all the things you said, leave us with some advice that we should do immediately. Can you, out of all the things we talked about, leave us with something that we can take away that will trigger us to call you or somebody for help?
Do it now. Like whatever you're thinking right now, do it now. Like I don't have one piece because everybody's picture is going to be different. So for you, it may be, I need to have this conversation about who I need to talk to about my estate. For somebody else, it may be, I need to make sure that I don't only have a 401k, I also need a brokerage. For whatever it is for you, don't wait because and this is one last instance. So for all of our people who are reaching retirement age, and this is something they don't even tell us too, that the longer you wait to receive Social Security income, the bigger your pot grows. A lot of people aren't aware that your pot will grow if you wait to take your Social Security. However, I have had clients or one specifically that, like it's general that, all right, just wait as long as you can, but you can start getting your Social Security, I believe 66 in 10 months or something like that. However, her dad was always like, well, I just want to wait. I'm going to wait till 68. He ended up coming up with 68. He ended up dying 2 days before his birthday. Okay. He didn't get the money. The kids don't get the money. Who get the money?
The government.
So whatever it is, just do it now. That's it.
Amen. Can we give some love to Yasmine and to Vicki for this amazing session? As we close, the Lord just wanted me to remind all of us that we are in that season again. It is the season of Christmas. And he wanted me to remind us that the reason for the season is the birth of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. He said, keep Christ at the center of it all. Shopping, cooking, hanging out with friends, taking days off. Keep Christ at the center. And how do we do that? What does that look like? That looks like loving unconditionally. It looks like forgiving instead of judging. It looks like embracing instead of pushing away. And for those of us that might be on the call, and this is the first Christmas that mama's not here, or that your child or your loved one is not here, I always invite people to bring them with you. My sister's best friend died suddenly on 2 years ago on Martin Luther King's birthday. They had been friends for 40 years. They used to always go to the U.S. Open together in New York. That was their thing. And so when Dawn said, I'm going to go with Jeff and her kids, but I'm sad that Gina's not there, I said, take her with you. She said, what do you mean? I said, you got this little phone? What's the favorite picture of you and Regina at the U.S. Open? Make that your screenshot. So whenever you open your phone and you guys are at the U.S. Open, you can look down and have that memory and be delighted that not only is Regina in heaven and healed from what took her out, but she's delighted in the memories that you have together. So not only did Dawn do that, she invited Jeff, Regina's husband, and her children. So they all had different pictures of Regina on their phone. And so they took Regina with them to the U.S. Open. So I invite you, bring your loved one with you to Christmas. Whoever that might be that you're missing, just put them on your phone. You're going to touch the phone about 12,000 times on Christmas Day. Every time you touch that phone, it brings that memory and it gives you that strength to walk through and go through what you went through and who you're missing at that time. And it'll turn those tears of sorrow into tears of joy as you laugh about that memory that just delighted you for that person. We are at 1:30 my time, 10:30 your time. Merry Christmas.
Stuff in the chat.
We have in the chat, make sure you copy Yasmine's information and Vicki's information for questions, as well as a link to From Lost to Life Ministries. Thank you, guys.
This was recorded.
This was recorded, and we'll let you know when the recording is ready if you want to share it. Okay? God bless you. We love you.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. God bless.
From Lost to Life.